Todd Blanche, Donald's former and current personal defense attorney, has served as acting attorney general of the United States of America since April 2nd. In that time, he has helped create a slush fund benefiting Donald's allies and January 6 insurrectionists. He's shielded Donald and his family from IRS scrutiny, getting Donald out of a $100 million tax bill. And he's pursued a second indictment of James Comey based on an Instagram post of seashells on a beach. And of course, refusing to release the Epstein files. On July 7th, the DOJ alumni group Justice Connection posted a letter to the Senate Judiciary Committee. More than 1,200 former DOJ employees signed this letter, and that includes DOJ employees spanning 14 presidential administrations from both the Republican and the Democratic parties. The letter runs 59 pages long of just the signatures. The overall message was this: the culture of fear Blanche has instilled within the DOJ's workforce must end. It's not just former DOJ lawyers. On June 22nd, 101 former judges filed a 73-page ethics complaint accusing Blanche of conflicts of interest, incompetence, and conduct prejudicial to justice. The Department of Justice, of course, has called the complaint a quote-unquote pathetic stunt because they can't prove that any of that is untrue. Roughly 16,000 of the department's more than 100,000 employees have left since Blanche took the leadership role, and that includes more than a quarter of the department's career attorneys. Since becoming acting attorney general, Blanche has compiled a record that former colleagues and judges call unprecedented, and they don't mean that as a compliment. On April 7th, Blanche answered a reporter's question about whether he wanted the job permanently. Remember how he answered that question?
I love working for President Trump. It's the greatest honor of a lifetime. And if President Trump chooses to keep me as acting, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate me, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate somebody else and I go back to being the DAG, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate somebody else and asks me to go do something else, I will say, thank you very much. I love you, sir. So I don't have any goals or aspirations beyond that.
I often wonder if people like Blanche realize just how pathetic they are. Thank you, sir. May I please have another, is what I thought while listening to that ghost of Heinrich Himmler speaking to reporters. As Deputy Attorney General, Blanche oversaw the questioning of Ghislaine Maxwell in 2025, and this is after she was transferred to a minimum security prison, a move that went against Bureau of Prisons policy for sex offenders because, remember, Ghislaine Maxwell was Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator. She is a convicted rapist and sex trafficker of girls and young women, and Blanche thinks that she deserves special treatment. A federal court has since pointed to statements Blanche made during that same period as evidence supporting a finding on May 22nd that the DOJ could not overcome a presumption of vindictive prosecution against Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man who was wrongfully deported to a prison in El Salvador in 2025 before being returned to the United States to face criminal charges that they cannot prove. Blanche pushed a leak investigation into reporters at the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal after Donald personally handed him a stack of articles marked treason in Donald's signature Sharpie. In the case of the Broadview Six, the Justice Department has agreed to pay the defendant's attorney's fees while simultaneously fighting to block discovery, a move legal experts say is designed to keep Blanche's own conduct from being exposed. Todd Blanche is not moving toward full transparency. His DOJ has released a large tranche of Epstein material, but over 3 million pages remain withheld or so heavily redacted they are unreadable. A federal judge is now pressing the department to justify what it's still hiding, which is considerable. Because yes, they released 3 million pages, but do we really think, considering there are 3 million pages left, that they released the most damning materials? No. We do not have the full story. from the Epstein files because Todd Blanche is trying to protect somebody. A quick note, the easiest way to support what we do is to like this video, share it with someone who needs to see it, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching. The judges are not the only former officials sounding the alarm. On July 2nd, Jack Smith, the special counsel who led 2 federal prosecutions of Donald before both were dropped, gave his first television interview since resigning. Take a look at what Smith had to say.
The judge basically said that in the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case, said that he found that this was an instance where basically criminality was being reverse engineered all the way up to Todd Blanche. If a judge has found that, what do you think they're capable of with 2 more years?
Well, as I said earlier, from my perspective, have seen a number of cases. James Comey, Letitia James, Jerome Powell, right? There's not criminality here. Seashells. So the only reasonable explanation is the president has it out for these people, and he has people who, his former personal lawyers, who are going to do what he says, regardless of the factual law. Again, just to juxtapose it, I didn't have people on my team resigning because they refused to go along with a scheme to go after somebody. That was not what happened. You see that in all of these cases. And just, again, imagine, if you would, I was appointed from outside the government, no political allegiance to anybody. And they were comfortable with Jack, wherever you think the facts and law dictate, that's what we'll do. And that's what'll happen. Can you imagine that happening now if there was an allegation of corruption in this administration, them saying, let's appoint an outside independent person to make a call on this? I think we know it would never happen. And I think that's a real easy way to differentiate following the process, following the facts, having independence.
Smith also told MS Now's Nicole Wallace that the country is facing an attack on the rule of law, quote, different in kind and scope to anything I've seen in my lifetime, unquote. He went on to say the Justice Department, quote, can't do the basic things you need to do to represent the American people in court, unquote, because judges no longer trust the prosecutors. It is difficult to define just how damning that assessment is, because the DOJ, especially the Civil Rights Division, used to be held to the highest standards. Attorneys at the DOJ did not bring cases unless they were rock solid and watertight. And now DOJ attorneys go into a courtroom, go in front of judges with the presumption that they are inept or worse. Blanche's confirmation hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee is scheduled for July 15th and 16th. All 12 Republicans on the committee would need to support Blanche if every Democrat votes no. At the time of this interview, Smith had already spent months under direct pressure from the Trump regime he once investigated. He was subpoenaed to testify before the House Judiciary Committee, sat for a closed-door deposition, and then testified publicly for hours on January 22nd. A month later, U.S. District Judge, the utterly corrupt Aileen Cannon, who is the same judge who had thrown out Donald's classified documents case, or I should say, who threw out Smith's classified document case against Donald, ruled that the remaining volume of Smith's final report could not be released because she continues, as Blanche does, to act in her capacity as Donald's defense attorney. In the interview itself, Smith acknowledged that it's plausible the Justice Department could indict him, joining former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James on the list of Donald's perceived enemies who have already faced charges. This is all out in the open. The DOJ is an utterly corrupted agency, thanks to Pam Bondi and now Todd Blanche and Donald's failure to keep a wall between the White House and the DOJ. The DOJ is, as I predicted it would become, simply Donald Trump's defense firm. And they exist simply to advance Donald's agenda go after his enemies, and protect him. If you'd like to support this channel, please like this video, share it, and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. These simple actions really can help independent media break through the noise. And lastly, get the full story over on my Substack, The Good in Us, which you can find at marytrump.org. There's a lot of free content there, but if you can, please consider becoming a monthly member. It really helps support the work, keeps this going day to day, and allows us to reach the people who need to hear our message the most. Thanks for being here.